Hi there. In this video we will be installing this Auoma or something like that. Auoma. I have no idea how that should be read. Split AC. It's a second-hand unit and it's really old. It even has the type of refrigerant that basically it's not really in use anymore in 2023. But anyway, it's working, so I'm using it. I don't care how it looks, and if I can keep it out of the landfill, that's great. So if you buy something like this secondhand, do your best to make sure that it's working before you buy it, because there's no point in throwing away money even if it's cheap. If it's not working, it's useless. And many times they are quite expensive to repair. For units with old refrigerant, it's in my country almost impossible to find it anymore, and it's really expensive even if you find it. So no point in buying this if it lost the refrigerant. If it's working, turn it on. Then if you are able to disassemble it from where it's working yourself, turn it on, then go outside, remove this cover. Underneath it we have a kind of a faucet, a valve. Close that valve, let the unit continue to run on cooling for about 1.5 maximum 2 minutes until it will draw all the refrigerant inside of the compressor in the unit. Then close also the bigger valve under this cover, so both of them at the end are closed, and then turn off the unit and start disassembling the wires and whatnot. Try to take as many pictures as possible to make sure that you remember how to connect everything together. And yeah, that's about it. But it's really important to do those steps. So turn on the AC, shut this off, let it run 1.5 minutes, maximum 2 minutes, shut this off, and then turn off the AC. And this is how the internal unit looks like. It's old, beat up, but again, it's working. My father opened this up and cleaned it a little bit because it was really dirty also on the inside. It was missing a lot of the plastic in here, so we used some pop rivets to put this in place. It doesn't have all kind of clips and stuff to put it on the wall, so we added this to attach it in the lower part to the wall and 3 bigger ones at the upper part. So yes, this is highly modified, but it was basically almost free, so if I can use it for a few good years, that's perfect. Yeah, kind of scratched the wall when I made sure I have it in the correct position where I want it, marked the top holes where it will hold most of the weight. The bottom ones will be drilled after, and marked the corner where I need to drill about 60mm hole for all the pipes to get out from here. I will patch up all of this after I'm done. So there's that. Now I don't have something to drill the whole hole, so I will drill many smaller ones and then break between them. First part is done. Now let me break between the holes with a hammer and a chisel. Most of the hole is done. We can see all the way outside. That's the top of the hole, so now I need to cut on the outside and come from the other side because this is too deep from one side. And I will plug the hole on this side because all the dust will be pushed inside if not. Now let's play on the other side. And the hole is done, and we made this with a radius, so the tubes have something to bend after, so they don't make a kink by bending too fast. All of that that we added was needed because this plastic is really brittle. This thing, I don't know, has already 15 years of life, and it kind of stayed, I think, in the sun in the store where it was put on the wall. So yeah, there's that. So we put metal behind every single rivet and whatever, so there are metals behind this plastic, and where it's whiter it's not that damaged like here, but this wouldn't hold it anymore, so this needed to be installed. So now let's connect the extensions and wrap everything together. Now it's a good time to extend all the required wires. Some of them, like this big one, we connected directly inside of the unit. It was easier than to extend it. The power cord, it's still the original one, so there's that. This is from, I think, some sensor, and yeah, now we will start to wrap everything up, tighten this, make sure it's all good and tight, so we don't lose the refrigerant, because that would be the end of it. Okay, repaired the installation on the pipes. Here are the connections, everything is done. Now let's try to wrap everything together. Wrapped it all together up to the exit from the wall, and now we will just insert it through the hole and attach it to the wall basically. While wrapping everything, keep in mind to keep the condensation on the lowest part, because if you start going with it all around, you will have pools of water. And continue to wrap this as much as you can, because it will be easier to pass it through the wall. You will unwrap this and then cover it like this on the outside, but up until you go through the wall, it's easier like this. Stage 1 completed. I just need to finish on the outside everything and then give it a quick test and see if it powers on. If it powers on, I will also attach those at the bottom. Camera focus. And also give it a paint. I will paint it white because it's kind of yellow, really yellow. And we are outside installing the supports on the wall. Buy some decent supports, you don't want this falling. And if you have this kind of insulation, makes this really soft. So I'm cutting to the size of the wall some copper spacers. So this will be tightened onto the copper basically for all of the holes. Something like this. So I'm basically tightening onto the copper. Wrapped the exterior, but not until the end, because we need those separated. We will wrap them individually, but we needed also the cables. You can see they are wrapped up to there, but the water is separate. Managed to lift it in place. It's going to be quite hard, especially all units are really heavy. It's not aligning quite properly there, so I will undo those screws to allow it to go a little bit lower, but yeah, overall it's good. If the holes are not properly aligning, every single time put the one next to the wall, and then you will be able to move it a little bit to align the outer one. And I'm using self-locking nuts, and I don't have any rubbers. You can put rubber under the AC unit, but it will be destroyed in time, so I think it's actually worse at the end of the day. Connected the pipes. Now we need to open this and do a pressure test, just to make sure that we are not leaking, because we don't want to open the faucets, the valves, and lose all the refrigerant. Doing the pressure test. We are at about, what I think, 13 and something bars, and we will let it, I don't know, 10 minutes and see if it drops or not. And this was used to create the pressure on all the refrigerator compressor. And we are about 10 minutes later, no movement, and now we need to make a vacuum so we don't have any air in the system. This is a step that you can actually skip if you don't have a long run of tubes, but it's better if you can do it to actually do it. Now, as you can see, we are pulling a vacuum, but it's not going to be that much. That little compressor cannot pull a lot of vacuum. When this stabilizes, I will shut off the valve and then go up and unplug everything, so we remain on a vacuum on the tubes. Actually, we didn't even close the valve, just removing this quickly, and this will self-close, and I just need to put the lid on it, and we'll continue tomorrow because the rain is starting. And tighten this properly. Next step, starting to connect the wires. matching the numbers with the ones from the internal unit, so match the colors to the proper numbers. Connected all the wires. I didn't have the proper plug for the sensor, but cut the wires and used this to join them. This should not be high voltage, but anyway I will insulate everything just in case. Now I opened up the covers and with an in-bus Allen key, whatever you want to call it, we will open up both valves. In theory, doesn't matter which you open up first. Opened up this first and this instantly got cold. Obviously nothing's running, just the refrigerant entered it. Valves are open. I will put back the covers now. Slide back the cover, put the screw in, and if everything works after the test, I will also insulate the pipes in this area and obviously the cables next to the pipes. First power on, it did its trick, and now it's waiting. I have a universal remote, so I'm going to attempt to use it and see if it starts. And it's working with code 210 on this particular remote. And yeah, it's wiggling, it's not in its final position yet, but I think it's giving us cold air slowly. So probably it's all good. We'll see. I'll get back to you. Well, seems to be working perfectly, which is great. I've set it to 21 degrees and it's flickering 22. It almost reached that. Let's see how cold is the air coming out of it. Yep, it's outputting cold air. It will probably go down more and more and more the more I leave it here. But yep, this thing is working and I think it's 15 to 20 years old. So this is what people should do. Reuse as much as possible and keep stuff out of the landfill. Do I care it looks like this? No, because I can paint it. Okay, let's shut it off. That doesn't work. The shutting off doesn't work. That was unexpected. So let's try a different code. 211 maybe. Okay, so powering on works, but shutting off doesn't. Oh, wait. It actually did work. So maybe it's just about the angle and maybe that not being too transparent anymore, as you can see. Yeah, it works. I don't change the code. Just need to be a bit lower when I shut it off. Okay, great. Okay, my father made this plastic bracket, one underneath, one above, so the wires are not tightened to the metal itself and they are kept safe, so they are not pulling on the connection, which is perfect. Normally it had one of these, but it got probably destroyed by time or lost. The wires are pulled through this, which I insulated. Zip ties from place to place to make sure everything doesn't come unwrapped. Here there was a hole between the two pipes, covered it with some glue, same in here, just to make sure everything is wrapped. Put a little bit of insulation in here because it was missing in the final part. And now we are just putting back the cover and its screw, and then we continue with this. Insulated quite well that particular area, so bugs cannot get in, water cannot get in, cold or hot air cannot get in. Those are really well insulated, everything. This is attached to a pipe which has a plug at the end. I didn't want to provide the bugs away inside, and the pipe goes all the way in, probably almost touching the AC in, and it has lots of this bond or putty or whatever it's called, so it's decently sturdy in place. I cannot really easily move it too much. So yep, there's that. First paint layer is in place. Hopefully it will start looking a little bit better. Not perfect, but a little bit better. At least not really yellow. Final layer of paint. Now let me remove the stickers. Probably it will not be perfect, but it's more than good enough for what I need here. And this is how it looks. When it's dried it should be matte white, and we'll put back the directing flaps and the main flap, and attach the cable somehow to the wall and be done with it. The little hook that holds the middle of the flap was broken, so I made one out of this, I think it's brass, not copper. It's actually quite strong. Super glued it in place, and now I will also paint that white. And that's finished. At this point in time I will come with this, slide them basically underneath, and they latch on to the hooks right there. They have hooks all along the top, at least this model has, and they need to latch in there, but I cannot do this with one hand. Latched and fully adjustable. As you can see, I had some paint that went in the improper position, but used this little guy just to squeeze them gently from underneath for them to go into their place. Put the other one in and then put the big flap. For this particular model you kind of latch this in place. Make sure you align it with the motor. If I could actually find the orientation of the motor and of this hole, be back in a second. This is in. Now bend it from the middle until that one also goes in, and in here, in theory at least, you should be able to bend it to go over that, but I think I made the hook just a slight too big. Actually no, it worked. Yes, I think this motor isn't in the proper position anymore because it tends to leave this a slight bit open. I will show you in a moment, but I don't care at all. And that's about it for this video. It's working absolutely perfectly. You can see in there the current temperature flickering, 25, and the set temperature 23. They are quite dim. This thing is really old. Do I care? Absolutely not. At least 300 euros saved by reusing this old thing that my father got and repainting it. Just a little bit of a fixer-upper and it's working perfectly. Cable perfectly in place, painted also because it was really yellowish, and yeah, that's about it. Reuse as much as you can. So, hope this video helps you, in which case please give it a like, check out my other videos, and as always, see you in the next one. Bye.